Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. We're in the studio, which means you need to get involved in the chat and the comments with all the latest Manchester United news. We're going to be chatting about Edin Terzic, his potential successor, obviously, because that is a story or stories that are doing the rounds constantly at the minute with all the noise around whether the Manchester United manager is going to keep his job. And if he isn't, who is going to be taking over from him. Also, we've got a couple of transfer links, so we'll be getting into that as well. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe as well. If you're not subscribing to the channel, then please do. Loads of people already in the chat. Mick Holohan says woof woof. Someone bet £1,000 at J5 1,000 with anyone that Jay isn't on time. We moved it back slightly today because we were just sorting a couple of things out. Santa Knot says we're becoming notorious at these kind of links. Lockstock says, I mean, given that most of his goals seem to come from outside the area, we could do with him. Let's be honest. Santa Knot says, if I had my own way, we would go deeper scouting for players. We're going to get into that. We'll talk about Duran from Aston Villa. United have been linked with him. We'll see how sort of credible those links are. Would make a lot of sense. We do need a goal scorer. He does score goals. He's a bit of a flavour of the month type as well, so you can understand why he's been linked with other clubs. But we'll get into that. Let's start with this sort of story about the Stuttgart manager, I think it is, potentially taking over from Edin Terzic, or not, as it would seem. So it says here, you see this in the Manchester Evening News, I think it's been running in other papers as well. So Man United turned down by a Stuttgart manager after trying to replace Edin Terzic. It says Man United manager Edin Terzic is under huge pressure after his side's abysmal start to the season, and it has emerged the club approached Sebastian Hoeness in the summer. So it seems that we were talking to this guy in the summer, but he didn't fancy it. Only to be turned down by the talented German coach. That's what it's saying there. If you scroll down, it goes on to say about, you can see there's so many ads on this website, it's a nightmare. Goes on to say that United, obviously, in the summer, we were looking at different managers. We spoke to Thomas Tuchel. We spoke to, I think, to Thomas Frank. And now it's saying that, according to a German publication, Bild reported that Hoeness was another managerial target for United this summer, along with Tuchel. And it suggested that the Red Devils even inquired if he would accept the job. However, Hoeness declined the offer, choosing to remain at Stuttgart following their impressive Bundesliga campaign last year, which saw them finish second behind Bayer Leverkusen and secure a Champions League spot as well. So, I mean, it just adds to this air. I don't know how true this story is. It wouldn't surprise me if it at least made inquiries about him. I don't know if we offered him the job and said, look, you can be the Manchester United manager. That might be a bit of a stretch. We might have just said, let's have a conversation around it. And he might not have been keen, especially when he's doing bits at Stuttgart. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think if Manchester United did offer the Stuttgart manager the job of managing United, you'd think he'd take it. I know he's done well at Stuttgart, and obviously, like we said there, finished second, get him into the Champions League. But Manchester United is one of the biggest jobs in the world, one of the biggest clubs in the world. No disrespect to Stuttgart, but it's obviously a lot bigger. So it is slightly surprising to me that, if that is true, that he wasn't interested. But it might be the case that he wasn't interested because of the job that he's doing at Stuttgart, because they are doing well. You saw a similar thing with Xabi Alonso at Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, he was linked quite heavily with the Liverpool job. Talk of him even maybe going to Real Madrid, but he made it clear that he wanted to stay at Bayer Leverkusen for the foreseeable future. Maybe Hoeness is doing the same thing at Stuttgart. It's just these rumours and this circulation of managers that could be coming in. It never ends. Yesterday, I had the thing about Terzic, which I'll get to in a minute, the former Borussia Dortmund manager. We've already heard about Thomas Tuchel. There's definitely a German aspect to a lot of this. Many managers being linked with the Manchester United job. At present, it looks like Edin Terzic's job is safe, but you have to wonder how long that is going to last for. I'll name this podcast later. It says, I honestly think that if Ineos came out and said Eric is here to stay, it would help drown out some of the negative narratives perpetuated by the media. Stephanie Griffith says, morning Jay. Greg Fossum's morning all. Ethan Sweeney, I think Edin Terzic would be gone already if he was going this international break. We'll see if he makes it to the next one. I agree with that. I think he's safe for now. I just don't know how safe he is. I'll name this podcast later saying about Ineos coming out and saying that his job is safe. I think the reason they don't do that is because I don't think they think his job is safe. I feel like as if Edin Terzic is on a bit of a tightrope. And if he was to get beat, say, by Brentford and then lose, I don't know, say to Leicester or West Ham, because those are some of the games we've got coming up, then in the next international break, as someone else has pointed out, he'd probably be gone. So I'm not so sure that they'll come out and say that, because I'm not so sure they're 100% adamant he will stay. or he is their guy. I think there's a little bit of an element of let's see what happens with these results. I think he's safe for now, but we'll have to wait and see how safe he is for sort of the foreseeable. Let's talk about another story doing the rounds here. Man United could consider incredible Premier League boss if Ten Hag is sacked. So this is from Gimme Sport, and it says here that Eddie Howe could replace Erik Ten Hag if Ineos decided to sack the Dutchman. Gimme Sport sources have revealed, although the United board wants to make things work with who they decided was the right man to continue leading them in the summer. All right, sorry, I've read half of that then. So basically it's saying that Eddie Howe could be on our radar here and that United are interested in him. I don't see it. I'll be honest with you. I don't see Eddie Howe coming into Manchester United. I don't know if Newcastle would be willing to let him go. I think they've sort of, he's been the guy for their projects, if you want to call it that. And he's done a pretty good job there since he's gone. I think this last season was a bit disappointing. This season they're doing all right. They've not been playing that well, but they're still 7th, so it's not the end of the world. So Eddie Howe, for me, I don't know if that necessarily is a massive upgrade. I don't think it is. I think you can look at Eddie Howe and go, okay, he's done a good job at Newcastle. Did get relegated at Bournemouth, has never won a trophy as a manager, did lose the Carabao Cup final to Erik Ten Hag. I know he's obviously beat Erik Ten Hag several times in the league, but is Eddie Howe a manager that comes in and fills you all with confidence? Let me know what you think. Not for me. If you are going to replace Erik Ten Hag, replace him with a winner. Replace him with someone who's won something. Replace him with someone who's on a upward trajectory. I feel like Erik Ten Hag. I feel like Eddie Howe's doing well at Newcastle, but I don't think he's sort of on this upward trajectory. I feel like his first season was very good. When the half season, whatever it was, he took over and kept him up. Next season, getting into Champions League. Last season, it was underwhelming, and this season's been okay. So I'm not sure that is a great step forward, to be honest with you. BMW Racing says no thanks. Bernardino says morning all. Oh, Santa Notch, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Notch. Massive supporter of the channel. We appreciate you, bro. Hope you're having a good one. Akash K says the only coach I would take would be Thomas Frank. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Brian Casey says, morning, Jay. Join me in wishing the legend that is Santa Notch a happy birthday. Yep, we've already done that, but we'll do it again. Colin Coupleditch says, morning, gang. Hope you are all good. What doesn't kill you, says, morning, Jay. Paul Pritchard, not a chance. How? Should we do a poll, Ethan? Stick a poll in. Let's do a poll. We'll stick Terzic in there as well. If you go into the Terzic story for me, please, and do a poll, how Terzic and Tuchel or Ten Hag. So this is another one. Hashtag don't buy the Sun. I think this has originally come from the Sun, but it's been reported everywhere. I had this yesterday. We're going to mention it again because it's still doing the rounds today. This is Edin Terzic, the kid who was at Borussia Dortmund, got them to the Champions League final. He's been there twice as manager. He's also been technical director there. As his 2 stints as manager, he's had... he won the German Cup, and then he got them to the Champions League final. They finished, I think, was it 5th last season in the Bundesliga. They didn't do too well in the Bundesliga, but they got to a Champions League final. That can't be ignored. So he has got a bit of pedigree there. He has won something. He does play an attractive brand of football. From what I gather, I've not watched loads of Dortmund, but from what people who do watch him tell me. And he's obviously had some success there. Young manager, I think he's 41. So you could argue he could be someone who's a bit of an up-and-coming manager. Very heavily tied to Dortmund, been there quite a lot. Obviously in 2 spells as manager and another one as a technical director. Could he be the man to succeed Erik Ten Hag if and when Erik Ten Hag does leave? Potentially. This doesn't feel like a massively strange move for me, this feels like it almost makes sense. Terzic to United. I was speaking about this yesterday, and I don't know if I said this yesterday, I might have changed my mind, but he's not the obvious choice. But it is like someone you can go, okay, I can understand why Ineos have gone for him. Like, there's a sort of a level of success there. He is young. He's got a good reputation. Could he come in to United with the right structure and do bits? Potentially. Let me know what you think. We've got a poll running. Who is the best manager candidate from today's news? Hoeness, Howe, or Terzic? Those are the ones from today's news, don't forget. Obviously, you've had Tuchel, we've had Thomas Frank, we've had Erik Ten Hag staying. Let's not forget that. But I'm just talking about today's news. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Oh, there you go. He's not. I'm being corrected here. Borussia Dortmund fans hate him, says Mika. He also says he's really not. So they hate him. They're not having the Champions League final isn't enough. 5th place finish in the Bundesliga. Obviously not impressing them either. According to Mika, he says they're not having it. Glenn F says, morning Jay, hope you're well. NXT says, morning Jay. Oh no, he doesn't. Yeah, he does. Yeah, Ten Hag is still the guy in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag is still going to be the manager in it. He's going to be the manager for the foreseeable. I wonder if he's going to be the manager in the next few years. That's the question, or even past Christmas. Let's talk about some transfers. Let's talk about Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire here. He's we've got a slight technical issue, so we can't talk about. Well, we can talk about Harry Maguire. There he goes. So this is gossip, which always worries me when it's gossip because I think that's more meaningless. And I think, is this in the Metro? Yeah. So it says Manchester United are ready to take a staggering 70 million loss on Harry Maguire ahead of the January transfer window, according to reports. Right, can I just stop you there? That's the most ridiculous sentence I've ever heard in my life. Because whilst it looks exciting and sort of shocking and wow, we're willing to take a staggering £70 million loss on Harry Maguire. How old is Harry Maguire now? What is he, 31? 30? Let's have a look. All right, let's get into this. Because I think we need to start being a little bit more real. He's 31, yeah? He's been at United for 5 years. So we're not taking a £70 million loss. You paid him, right? The reason you bought Harry Maguire wasn't so you could sell him on in 5 years' time when he's 31 and make your money back or get some profit. It was for that contract, for the duration of that contract. That's what you're paying for, and that's what you're going to have had. You're going to have had 5 years out of him, right? Now, I'm not saying we didn't overpay for him. We did. But you're looking at it, you're breaking it down. So it's what? What is that? Is it 16 million a year? Is it? If you're looking at it over 5 years? That's what you're paying for. So it's not necessarily, it's misleading to say that United are ready to take a staggering £70 million loss on Harry Maguire. Because obviously, he's 31 now. You're not going to get loads of money for him. And you've paid for the service that he's provided over the 5-year contract that he signed. Or however long his contract was for. So, again, it sounds good, doesn't it? And it sounds like, oh, I can't believe we're taking a £70 million loss on Harry Maguire. But that's not necessarily true. I think that's slightly misleading. JB says, no way, Maguire has been playing well the end of last season, the start of this season, worth way more than 10 million. Mika says, I think we need a head coach with a flowing mane, no more bald frauds, he says. Anthony Green says, Service doesn't even have the same rep as Eric. Ajax Service, I think he's Terzic, I think he's trying to say. Andy Stoltz says, Jay, there wasn't a nod on the votes. Okay, fair enough. Stephen Harris says 9.9 million overpriced. Colin O'Sullivan says he's doing well now, cash in. I think with Harry Maguire, we're actually getting use out of him at the minute, aren't we? He's been playing quite a few games and he's doing well-ish. Obviously scored that late equaliser against Porto. Let me know what you think about Harry Maguire. Let's talk about this Duran link. Because we saw this is in the Mail. Aston Villa start a caught in transfer battle as 3 European giants, including Manchester United, battle it out for rising talent. So, talking about, obviously, Duran here, you can see, it says, Aston Villa's 20-year-old Colombian striker, Jhon Duran, is quickly becoming one of the hottest prospects in European football, with several elite clubs expressing serious interest in securing his services after a standout start to the Premier League season, where Duran has scored 4 goals in just 7 games. Giants such as Manchester United, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich have reportedly all set their sights on the young forward. I mean, some people have pointed this out. It was obvious we were going to get linked with him, wasn't it? You could just see it coming. It says, while both United and Barcelona are reportedly monitoring the player, Bayern Munich appear the most eager to make a move, with speculation that the German champions are preparing a strong bid ahead of the next transfer window. So it looks like Bayern Munich are going to go for him. United monitoring him. I don't know. I mean, he's a good player. He's obviously having a bit of a purple patch at the minute. Is this the beginning of a striker who's going to score loads of goals? Or is he just having a rich vein of form? I'm not so sure. I think we need a striker with a bit more experience. I think we do need another striker, I do. I don't know if we're going to get one, but I feel like we are sort of banking on players to either exceed expectations or to do better than they've done in the past, or to play as well as they have done in the past, but not recently, if that makes sense. So you're hoping that Marcus Rashford's going to find his form from a couple of seasons ago. You're hoping that Rasmus Højlund's going to improve on his 16 goals in all comps last season. You're hoping that Joshua Zirkzee is going to score probably more goals in a season than he scored in the last few seasons. You're hoping that Alejandro Garnacho is going to hit the heights that he's promised, or he's looked like he could do. Same with Amad Diallo. It's a lot more hope than expectation, I feel. Maybe you do need an experienced striker to come in. Maybe you do need someone who can almost guarantee you a certain amount of goals. Is Duran that guy? Probably not yet, though he is getting there. And he's certainly someone who's very exciting. He scores some great goals as well. I don't see it happening. He's just signed a new deal, says Phil Berry. Where are you going to get the money to? If you're going to get him, you're going to have to spend massive amounts of money to get him. I don't think so. I don't think it'll happen. Stephen Harris says he can't get in Villa's starting 11. Talk about hype, behave. I don't know, man. They do have Ollie Watkins, I think, leading the line for him. So it's not like it's someone who's rubbish keeping him out. I don't know about this one. It feels less likely than likely, to be honest. Paul Pritchard says any striker needs the balls fed to them or crosses, but we struggle to get the ball in dangerous areas to attack. Seamus McHugh says Brentford game is massive. Greg Smith says bring in Roy Gattuso for the disciplinary masterclass. Lol. Let's talk about Fernandes. Not that Fernandes. Alvaro Fernandes. Now, there's been a lot mentioned about this kid over the last few weeks, because obviously we've got a bit of a crisis at left back. We let him go. He went to Benfica. There was people questioning it. Why did we let him go? We could do with him now. It was a massive mistake letting him go. All the rest of it. But there seems like the buyback clause is 20 million for United and 50 million for everyone else. So we can get him back. So it's not the end of the world, really, to be honest with you, this move that we did. And it does look like there was a little bit of sort of sensibleness when it came to the deal, in the sense that we're going to allow him, or we can get him back for 20 million euros, which is quite decent. I don't know if we will do. It does feel like Erik ten Hag doesn't fancy him, and you might argue that Erik ten Hag's not going to be the manager. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But I think that's just sort of giving a bit of perspective on Fernandes, because a lot of people really annoyed that we let him go and questioning it. And it seems like, okay, maybe we should have kept hold of him. But the fact that we have got what seems like a relatively low buyback clause looks like good business to me. Shep72 makes a good point, though. He's got to want to come back first. Yeah, I agree. Hydro says, get Rude up front. He would still bang in goals for fun. Seamus McHugh says, Brentford game is massive. Ginge, I think he's talking about Duran, says he wouldn't sign for United. He wants to make a step up and join a big club. I think, to be fair, you might not rate Manchester United in terms of our performances or whatever, but we are still the biggest club in England. So if we do go for someone and we do pay the money that he's asked of him, invariably, usually we get him, don't we? To be honest with you, look at United and signing players. I know you can mock United and saying we're not the club we used to be or the team we used to be and all the rest of it, but we've made some big signings over the years, post-Fergie years as well. So it does feel like when United want to go out and get someone, we usually can. This might be different, though, with PSR and with Ineos and all the rest of it, that we might not be going out and spending that huge amounts of money on players. Dennis Ross says, Aston Villa have a better squad and manager now. It's a fair point, that I think. If you look at the performances, you could argue that case. And I think you'd be pretty accurate in it. At the minute, we'll see how it pans out. Punch Pate says, up the paddock, Jay, absolute legend. Shout out to the producers and everyone in the chat. Good morning from Boston. Scooby Dooby says you've made big signings because you pay stupid wages. Well, there is an element of that as well, to be honest with you. I'm not going to deny we have paid some absolutely ridiculous wages over the past few years. But hopefully that will all change. We'll wait and see what happens, if there is anything to that Duran. It doesn't feel like it is. The poll results are in. Who's the best United manager candidate from today's news? Terzic 35, Howe 29, Hoeness 37. So looks like Hoeness is getting a vote. I'm going to be back later on with the Paddock podcast. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.